Mr. Speaker.
Louise Upston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to be able to speak in this second reading of the Education Amendment Bill number 4. It's fairly obvious that the Speaker before me has no knowledge of this bill because it's actually been into Select Committee and come out. So that was a bit of a bother to realise the ignorance of some of the members on the other side who don't even understand where the piece of legislation is in the process. So we have had a full Select Committee process. We've had a great level of scrutiny on the piece of legislation. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to focus on one of the parts of the legislation that hasn't been touched on a lot today, and that's the unleashing the export potential of our export education, of our international education, because that's one of the key differences with this side of the House. This side of the House is focused on where we can gain more export dollars. So this is about taking the handbrake off a section of our education that is doing extraordinarily well overseas and getting rid of some of the handbrakes that are currently stopping their ability to grow and therefore their ability to bring in much needed export money into this country, Mr. Speaker. And on the flip side, and I think that's why this bill is so fantastic, so on the one hand it's providing the opportunities for us as a country to earn more, but on the flip side it's also saying, well, actually what we have to do is look at making sure that the spending that goes into tertiary education is as effective as possible. So it's tightening up to make sure that the tertiary institutions who get significant funding from the government are using that money wisely. And in particular, with the student services fee, giving students more opportunity to provide some views around how those fees should be spent and the level at which they are set. And there's common feedback that's come back, particularly from Canterbury University, that those fees have increased without the ability for students to have an input in terms of how that money is being spent. And also to correct the member that spoke previously, in terms of what's happening with export education, what is happening is there are 3 organisations currently who do the work around international education. We are simplifying it by making sure that one agency is responsible for that work rather than 3 agencies tripping over themselves and still getting it wrong. This is what the international education industry want. This is what will allow New Zealand to grow our international education and to grow our export income. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to support this bill, one that has 2 focuses in terms of bringing money into the country and making sure that the money that is being spent in tertiary education, as well as lifting the number of places, 11,600 more core places in tertiary institutes without more money being spent. So better effective use of money in tertiary education, but also giving students the opportunity to have input, to be consulted by their institutions about how their student services fees are set. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, the question is that the amendments recommended by the Education and Science Committee by majority be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party votes called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
57 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
38 votes in favour.
Green Party.
6 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
5 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 104, the noes are 7. The motion is agreed to. The question now is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Education Amendment Bill number 4, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day.